All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the SaaS Founder Show. Andy Halko, our CEO and founder of Insivia, is here once again, as always.
In the house.
How are you doing?
Literally in the house.
In the house.
That's right. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing real well. Just ready for another interview again this week.
I'm super excited. This is a cool little app and company, and they've got bright sunny weather out there in SoCal, so it'll be, maybe some of it'll come our way after we talk.
Yeah, we could use it. So, all right. So today we're talking to Nerissa Zhang. She's the co-founder and CEO of the Bright app. So let me bring her in here. Hey, Nerissa.
Hi.
Welcome. Let me organize this. Get you here in the spotlight.
Ooh.
Awesome. All right, so welcome, and thank you so much for spending your time here with us. I guess to start out, we would just, we want to hear all about it, but and dive into the backstory and all that. But tell us about the Bright app, just a little bit, so everyone has the high level, what it is and what it does.
Okay, so the Bright app is designed to help trainers be better at business, even though they don't realize that they are a small business. So we are a utility app that enables their business to be streamlined so they can monetize.
That's great. Very cool. So origin story, I know that it sounds like you were a trainer yourself or still are.
Yep.
And so you probably came up with a solution, I'm guessing, that was needed, that's out there. So how did the concept come about? Tell us about where you came up with the spark, that idea, and where it went from there.
Okay, so I've been a trainer for a long time, almost a decade now, and I worked in San Francisco. So I had the privilege of seeing a lot of things get disrupted by tech, not the way trainers do business. So gym software is usually built for the gym owner or the consumer, but they forget that the value asset is the trainer. They provide the most value to the clients and to the gyms, yet tech don't support the way they work. And so most trainers have to hack together multiple solutions using technology. So they have one to take payments, one to do scheduling, and then they still use pen and paper. And so the idea from the Bright app is having it all in one place and in an app, because trainers are always on their phones. They don't need a computer to do their business. They need their phones.
I'm kind of curious, we haven't talked about this a lot, but I know for folks that are, kind of in a role like being a trainer, how long did you think about this, and how long did the idea incubate in your head before you start? You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I gotta do this. And then how long did that take to get to the point you said, oh, I'm not just going to think about it, I'm going to do it?
Oh, good question. I've been thinking about it for a long time. So unlike most trainers, I come from a business background. I went to business school. I used to open restaurants in San Francisco. So one of the things I noticed is a lot of trainers, they come from just the trainer perspective. So they're gym rats. They love the gym. They love the body. They have degrees in kinesiology, exercise science, like their whole lives, they're built around that. Coming from a business background, going into personal training, because I love the value that you added to your clients, I was able to, apply my business side to that and become like an elite trainer much quickly, make more money. And most trainers, they didn't have that. And so I always thought for years, how do I make this better for the trainers? I'm obviously not a technical person, but I was lucky to find my husband, who, in my opinion, is one of the best engineers in the world. He has 15 years of experience. He's, built some of the best apps, some of the original viral apps that went on Facebook and games and iPhones. And so he's built 40 plus. And so what really happened is I met him and I was like, you should build this.
That's great.
But I did try other ways to find solutions that actually made trainers' workflow easier. But meeting him just made that happen. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I love when, disruption is all about the idea of like someone almost from a different background coming into an industry and rethinking how it can be done, and so we see that a lot. So I think that's such a great point is, you don't have to, that outside perspective is so valuable. For you, how did, the business background influence how you started up the app and how you started the business?
Good question.
Did your education and the business side of things, have you start in a different way of like finding funding or bootstrapping? How did you use some of what you had learned in the business world previous to kind of start this business?
So I realized in the business world is you have to have a plan. A lot of trainers don't have plans when they go into being a personal trainer. And so they kind of just go into it with, I love my job. I want to be good at my job, but I don't know what to ask for. I don't know how much I should charge for my services. I don't know how to get a client to commit. And so in building the app, we built it in such a way that it forces you, the trainer, to be better at business. Like you have to get the clients to commit to a schedule. That's the only way they're going to get results, and that's the only way you're going to make money. You got to get them to buy impacts of 10 or more. You got to get so all of my business background went into how the app works, and so it's not necessarily like a fitness app that has all these pretty features. It's really like a business tool that forces you to confront that you're not good at business. And if you want to be successful, you're going to have to, use a system that enables you to be better at your business, because that's how, that's how you grow.
Sounds like a business trainer for physical trainers.
Yes. And the idea is that trainers provide such a valuable service. I don't think people realize, we've helped people not only just lose weight or gain muscle, but feel better about themselves, feel more confident in dating and in their personal lives, be better at parenting. Like the physical body is really important to your mental as well, right? If you're an executive, you understand that. So you have a trainer. If you are someone who is a former athlete, you understand that. Someone who, who appreciates being able to set the tone for your day, right? You work out and you are committed to someone who holds you accountable, because a lot of times we don't hold ourselves, right? We have all these gadgets and these, fitness apps that tells us we can do it on ourselves, but we don't. Nobody wants to work out themselves. Nobody wants to really go running by themselves, right?
So Nerissa, I'm just curious. So as you came up, you started this idea came about, you recognized that, there weren't solutions to create that workflow for the purposes of the business for the personal trainers. Were you talking to other personal trainers that you recognized that they didn't know how to run their business like a true business, and that they were missing some of those things? Or did did that help influence to dive in and build this, or how did that work? What was the feedback you were getting?
Yeah, so I did focus groups, and one of the things I learned in a lot of those focus groups is a lot of the trainers are all like, "Oh, this is a great app," but they still want to go back to their bad habits. And part of it was because they came into the group, not knowing that I was, a part of this company. I was just like a guest trying to get feedback on this app that's new. And a lot of them would say, "Oh, this is a great idea, but my clients only pay once a week, or they're always canceling on me anyways." And so, really, it's like I have to change the trainers' habits too. They've gotten used to hacking things, and it doesn't help them monetize. And then a lot of them end up leaving the industry just because they're unable to hack the business side. They're unable to get it right. And it breaks my heart because, again, it provides such a valuable service. And if only they had something that enabled them to actually run their business, they would stay. Yeah. So
how did you guys determine that first set of features that you were going to build and what the app looked like to get it launched?
So we determined what actually helped you make money. And so we built it to be rigid in that way. And at first trainers are like, I don't understand this, because they're just like, I'm used to like doing whatever the client says. And I'm like, that's a problem. That's why the client ends up leaving you and finding another trainer. This is why you're always complaining you're not making any money. And so one of the things is we built the app in such a way that the trainer no longer had to chase money. So normally, when you have a client on the side, you have to remind the client, hey, it's time to re-up. And it creates friction because the client don't know how many sessions they have left. And you don't even know how many they have left. You're guessing. And so the app does that for them. It tells them exactly when they paid, how many sessions they have, when it's time to re-up. And so it does auto billing for the trainers.
I'm kind of curious to expound upon the idea that, you have an audience that kind of doesn't want to change their ways and they've got these bad habits and you have to teach them. I don't think we've really talked to any other founders about that concept. So what are some of the things that you've had to do and approaches you've had to take to, start trying to change the mindset of the target audience?
Get it in the try it. It's been number one. I'm saying, hey, try it with one client. Just see the difference. And the moment they see the difference, they understand, oh, wait, this is better. Because now I don't have to chase everybody that because good trainers, they have 20 to 30 clients at one time. And having to chase 20 and 30 people to pay you so you can pay your rent is a nightmare. And so having the ability to know that, these people are due next, these people are due in 2 weeks, allows you to, plan your life, right? Instead of your life being planned around your clients. And so once, getting them to try it, getting them to get feedback from their clients has been working. So the clients like it better too, because it creates less friction. They don't have to text you and wait for you to respond about how many sessions they have left, or if they can cancel. They do it all through the app. The client can go in and say, hey, I can't make it. I have a doctor's appointment. That's never been done before, not even in a physical gym. You still have to call someone, wait for their response and say, hey, I can't make this session. And hopefully they don't charge you for it, right? Not now in this app. You can now do it at the comfort at your own time.
So, Nerissa, how did you guys take this to market? Did you guys first, did you bootstrap it? Did you guys raise money? What did that look like?
So we are bootstrapped. We were able to raise a friends and family round, small, of $100K last year. We are in the middle of raising funds. We're still trying to raise funds. One of the biggest thing we keep hearing back from VCs is that we're still too early, which is a little bit confusing and amusing at the same time, because I'm just like, really? But it's just like, we need funding for manpower. It's like they want us to grow more, but we need money to do that. It's like, we have a working product. We have plenty of users. We have plenty of data. We need manpower now. That takes funding.
What's been kind of the biggest shock experience of going through trying to raise money? Is it, finding folks, or how you have to pitch? What's kind of been an epiphany that you've had in that process?
I feel like most VCs really don't try that hard to understand what you're doing. And that blows my mind. So it's like,
you have to do all the heavy lifting?
I'm constantly
Throw
doing
more
it.
funds in there.
Or one of the things that's been happening is the goalpost keeps moving. So even ones who are like, let me see this happen. And then I show them and then it's like, well, more of this. And it's like more of that. And so I'm unable to meet their standards because it keeps changing.
Yeah.
As I grow.
Yeah. As we've talked to founders, I mean, we constantly hear, raising money is a full-time job, and it's, you've got to put the effort in. And then, like you said, if they're not looking at it as closely and the goalposts keep moving, that's why it's a full-time job, because you've always got to be chasing and thinking and changing and adding information and doing that. And
it takes away from growing the business.
Right. Well, that's why it's such an interesting, as we've done these shows, an interesting choice of people that have decided to completely bootstrap the whole way through, not even worry about raising money, versus those that go out and do it. Because like you said, you're choosing where to put your time.
Yeah. It's just bootstrapping is just hard and difficult, especially because we are, a family. It's like I'm not a single gal who's like, I can, do this on all my credit cards, right? So it's difficult. I'm not going to say that I'm going to wait for VCs to continue to grow. I still will. I think the good thing about most founders is that we are always willing to do anything it takes to give birth to an idea. And so we just got to do what we got to do. But yeah, I do wish VCs would wake up and pay attention, because this is a huge market that's been disrupted. It's $10 billion. No one's going after trainers. My CAC for trainers is so low because of that. Everyone's going after content, but most trainers can't do content. They don't want to be on camera. It's not their thing. They're used to being in the gym. And so they want to work the same way they did in a gym. And that's what we allow them to do.
How much did you get into like competitor research and understanding the market as you were going through the idea process?
Oh, so I've been doing research even long before we gave birth to this idea. And the reason is because I wanted to know, why was software systems like MindBody, for example, so complex? Most trainers, they just want scheduling, they want to get paid on time. Why is the system so hard to use? And so I've always, written up reports on every competitor, everything that looked like a competitor for many years, and then everything that comes on the market that looks like a competitor, I do the same thing. And then I realized none of them, again, is not enabling the trainer. They're not empowering the trainer. That's part of the reason why we have almost 2,000 trainers on there. And a lot of the other platforms that I looked into, they have less than 100 for a reason, because they're not going after the trainers, they're going after the consumers.
So how have you targeted the trainers, like to grow users? Because you said you have a pretty healthy number of users that are on there right now.
So in the beginning, it was a lot of like hitting the pavement, going out, talking to people, getting them to try it. I went to New York for 2 weeks to do that. I are constantly talking to people, leads from Instagram, Facebook, and then lately it's been just word of mouth. So at one point, so before the pandemic, it was much harder because trainers were happy at the gym. They're not going to leave their gym. As soon as the pandemic happened, all the trainers now are furloughed. They don't have a way to survive. Now they've moved from Manhattan to Iowa. So they're like, how am I going to still get paid if I no longer live by my clients? And clients too have moved away. They moved to upstate. And so they're like, I don't need to live in the city anymore. And virtual training is becoming so normal. Now it's like everyone's just like, I'll give it a try, right? Because it's not like they have many options.
Yeah, that's super interesting. How did the pandemic influence what you did with the app? Because obviously that was a major disruption to the industry. So where were you guys at with the app, and then how did things change? Because I imagine that was quick. It happened all quickly.
That's right. So we were around 6 months before the pandemic, and we were just a utility app, again, for trainers and their business. When that happened, we noticed that, now all the trainers needed work and they needed lead gen. And so we built a marketplace in 3 weeks that enabled clients to go into the app, find a trainer, message a trainer, and start training. One of the things we found out too during this process is trainers are, again, not that good at the business side. They're not selling in sessions of 20 or more like they should be. They're still selling 1 at a time or 5 at a time. And so then we spent a weekend and hacked together a full service feature that now, just like a regular gym, we have a salesperson who then assigns these trainers clients. So we hold the whole relationship between the client and us, and then we assign trainers. And the trainers are happy that way. Then they just get paid out per the amount of hours that they complete in a week.
Very cool.
So I know you've got the greatest CTO developer on the team, but what was one of the hardest parts or the biggest challenges in actually developing and creating the product that you guys faced?
Trainers wanted things that they didn't need. So a lot of because we did want to listen to people before you build a product. And the reason is you don't want to build something that's beautiful that no one uses, right? Trainers, sometimes they have this idea that they need like a website, for example, buried under millions and billions. And then no one ever finds your website. They never monetize from their website. So I'm like, why do you need a connection to your website? You know, they don't even know this, right? Because they are taught to believe that you have a website, you make money. Then they have a website, they're not making any money, and that's because no one can find you. You have to SEO it. It's more complicated than just having a website with your face and hopefully, you know, people find you and somehow pay for your services, right? People just don't do that.
Yeah, I think that's great. We hear that all the time in these discussions is kind of that challenge of, you know, your customers want something that's not necessarily valuable, and how do you balance that? And so, you know, how have you guys made sure that you stay focused on what you think is the most valuable features, even if you've got a lot of people throwing ideas, and I'm sure it's not just potential customers, but family and friends, but people throwing ideas at you. How do you stay focused on what the core product is?
I made a lot of money as a personal trainer, so I know what the business should look like, and so I make sure to stay on that path. My goal, what I tell the trainers, is to make sure you have paying clients, and you have consistent paying clients, and so I make sure the product is built around that first.
So along those lines, Nerissa, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for education with your clients, with the trainers. Is that part of what you guys are delivering? And I would just love to hear. It sounds like there's a lot of things that you do there that can be valuable to the trainers. Yeah,
we make PDFs and decks for them to tell them like which the best practices in business, and using this app. We communicate with them as often as possible, where, you know, we try to get to know them and where they are and what it is that they need, so we can meet that need. You know, I think one of the things marketplaces tend to do is they tend to just build a marketplace and they don't get to know their users. And so that's why, you know, their users leave.
What are some of the ways that you guys capture that feedback or engage with your users to learn, you know, what their challenges are and what they like, what they're, you know, might be missing, et cetera?
Emails. We have a team of people who, you know, set up appointments with them. They talk to them, you know, weekly or every other week, whoever's the most responsive. They get, you know, they get exactly what they need. So if a trainer, you know, emails me, they need this and that, and they need to jump on a call, then I'm happy to do it.
I'm guessing since they're running the business using the app, then engagement and keeping them active with it's probably not that difficult. So I would say that's probably one of the brilliant things about the app is that, you know, you got people on there, they're using it to run their business. So
that's right.
It's pretty cool.
That's right.
Now you mentioned as far as one of the challenges is having the resources, the people. So what does the team look like now? Is it just you and your husband, or are there others involved, you know, here and there?
It's here and there because it's contractors. It's as we need them. We would like to bring a lot of them on full time. So we need resources to do that.
What's the dynamic for starting a business with your husband? My wife actually works in my business, and
nice.
Know people that have family companies. How do you feel about that dynamic, and how that has either helped or maybe even hurt you?
I mean, I love it. I mean, I think me and my husband work really well together. It's just the financial part is not fun because, when you lack resources, it creates friction that's, a little bit unnecessary. But as far as like building the company together and making decisions, we do a really good job at listening to one another. We just love it. We wanted to build a family company so that way our user are actually being served as well. Is one, but the way it hurts us is VCs don't like to fund husband and wife teams.
Interesting. I mean, there's something to that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think, there's, as I've dealt with VCs over the years, they want to reduce risk, and they're always trying to figure out what is something that could add risk to the, environment. And if there's a, rift or something like that, they want to know that their investment's still safe.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. For folks that, founders that are watching that may be going out there as family businesses trying to raise money. Have you been able to spin that for any VCs as a more powerful tool rather than, it being a potential risk?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's powerful because we're able to build quickly. We built the marketplace in 3 weeks. We built the full service option in 2 days. I think that makes it more powerful because one of the things that makes us different than other fitness app is our app was built in-house from scratch. A lot of them, they start outsourced and then they can't iterate quickly enough. Whereas we can iterate quickly. It's like trainers need this, honey, let's build it. It's like, can you build it? And he can build it. So if he can't build it, he'll say he can't build it. And we're like, hey, this is going to have to wait. So the communication is great. And so that's what I tell VCs is that, it's one of those things where you know them by their fruit, right? So it's like, this is what we've produced. So this should tell you how well we work together.
How is your role? What is your role specifically in the business? Are you more sales and marketing and kind of growth? And then, potentially, how has your role changed as you guys went from an initial idea to today?
I mean, really, my role is everything. It's a little bit of everything, including with designing the app. I'm not a designer, but I understand the flow. So I have to be heavily involved in the way it's being built and the technical side as well. I did learn a little bit of coding. I'm not at all someone who can code. I want to be clear. But I do want to understand what the tech team is doing. And I'm not just completely out of the loop. But I do the business sides, the sell, the growth, marketing, as well as social media, all that stuff, as much as I can.
So how is a husband-wife team? How do you guys kind of, I'm sure that there's not a whole lot of boundaries. Work's probably always something that's part of your conversation, but how do you guys balance it? And if it's something you're passionate about, it's probably not a bad thing that you talk a lot, but
yeah.
What does the work-life balance look like?
We do talk a lot about it because we do love it. We just love it. So we do talk a lot about it. However, we do make sure in the evenings that we always eat dinner with our kids. We always talk about their days. Our kids are also users on the app. They have coaches on the app. And so we're able to discuss what they did with their coaches, how they like it. They do running coach, they do swimming, they do weightlifting as well, because they do soccer competitively down here in San Diego. So it's important that they are, always strong and ready to attack. And so the weekends we take off, we'll work, but then we'll also take time to be with each other. We go hiking, You know, we make time. You got to make the time. So it's hard to say there's a true balance, because at times there is no balance and at times there is. But finding ways to carve out time that's just for you and the family is huge.
Yeah. So do you find that helps, like, taking that time to say, hey, let's go for a hike this weekend? So you guys are away and you guys are out in nature, spending time together. Do you guys make a point to do those type of things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's added to the calendar.
Right.
Everything's on the calendar.
So thanks to one of our, team members, Rasha, we've been really highlighting female founders in the last couple of episodes, and I think we will be for a while.
Nice.
And I want to keep it real, so I'm kind of curious, how do you feel about the startup environment, for someone that is a female and even a minority? How have you felt about that? What have you seen?
That you're not as so my experience is, as a female founder, I'm not as, I'm trying to find the best words to say this, but basically I feel like when I say something, no one's really listening. Where it's like, if my husband says something, everyone's listening. We've even found that in talking with VCs. So we even turn the table where he starts off and do it and get them engaged, and then I join in. And I don't know what it is, but I think our society has this idea that when a man speaks, you listen. When a woman speaks, especially when it comes to business, I think it's a business thing too. It's kind of just treated as, oh, that's a cute little project that you're doing. How cute, how adorable. Or it's like, for a man, that's a serious business. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's good feedback. And I think we have to be, honest about how people feel about the environment and, to be able to change it. What do you think? I'm kind of curious, what resources do you think we need to provide new startups that may look different than the typical Silicon Valley boys club?
So one of the things I really do believe is VCs need to stop pretending that they give to pre-seed and seed and then telling people that they're too early. When pre-seed is really just an idea, okay? Especially when they're constantly giving money to boys and men with an idea. They're constantly giving them $3 and $5 million to flesh out an idea that they, built in their garage, even though they don't even have a prototype yet, right? But they're telling me, who have a working product with recurring revenues and month over month growth, that I'm still too early. So then you shouldn't call yourself a pre-seed. So that needs to stop. They either need to decide if they're truly pre-seed or they're only pre-seed for the men. This is why the statistics of women still getting less than 2% and Black women still getting less than 0.5% is because they only give to Black founders at a Series B. So even recently, when they came out with statistics of, oh, look at all these Black founders who just got funded at Series B, that because they couldn't get anything below that. And so that's not fair. They're basically telling us, build this company with your hands tied behind your back and good luck. And then when you make more revenue that I know that you're less risk, then I want to invest in you.
Yeah, no, I think that's the scenario. And, it's how do we begin to change it and make it more, equal for everybody to be able to start a business, because that's what this country is about. So I think it's a great conversation.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I do think it should change, because right now it feels like just elites handing it off to other elites. I don't have an Ivy League degree. And so Ivy League is like on top of the list, and then next to male, and then everything else, right? And so it's not enabling me to grow a business that actually works. I'm not, and one of the things I tell them is that's why I'm asking for $1 million, not a lot. It's a rounding error for a lot of these firms. It's so tiny. It's just to prove out something that's already been working, but to grow that with manpower. I'm not even asking you to build the product. The product is already working.
Right.
So it's like, when do they stop pretending that I'm more riskier than a man who just came up with an idea? He just has an idea, but he's able to get 5 million, just flush it out.
Have you, are there any accelerators where you're at, and have you had any experiences with those? We hear about that often on these shows as well, is, accelerators and incubators that help businesses kind of get off the ground. Applying
and seeing what happens. I'm looking into YC.
Okay, that's great.
I thought about it last year, wasn't sure if I should do it. A VC said I should do it, and I said, okay, I'll give it a go and see what they say. It's just, for me, at first I assumed accelerators wouldn't work because I have a family. Also, usually accelerators tend to be with companies who not always, who is just at idea stage. And so they really want to grow your idea into a working product. Whereas like ours is a working product that needs money, and they don't give you enough money to hire manpower.
Yeah.
Grow. And so they'll give you like what, 25K to 100K, and that's it. It's like, I can't hire a team of salespeople with that.
Right.
So what are those areas, Nerissa, that where you're looking to grow? So if you did get that funding, where would you put those dollars into?
Oh, great question. Salespeople. So one of the things we figured out with the full service option is that we need 40 salespeople to have a cohort of 100 trainers each. Will put us at 4,000 trainers working part-time. At a 30% take rate, we'd be at $115 million valuation, because our average trainer charges $85 an hour. So we'd be able to be a unicorn. We'd be able to be a $1 billion valued company. So yeah, I need 40 salespeople to do that.
How do you guys, what is the revenue model? We're always curious to hear about, how people structure it. Do you take a commission? Do people pay a fee on a regular basis? Do you use any advertising?
So our self-service option, which we made available first, just enables the trainer to do the sales. We take 4% per transaction. With the new full service feature, we take 30% per transaction. And the way it works is just like a gym. We take 100% of the money, and we pay the trainers as they complete the hours.
How'd you end up coming to that pricing model? That's the other thing we always hear about, is the struggle of figuring out what's the right number, the right percentage, or, what's the right model. How did you have to do research? Did you test different ones out?
So this comes from research, talking to the trainers, feedback from clients as far as like the trainers not selling more sessions than they should have been selling. And then the fact that I worked in a gym. It's just like gyms take anywhere from 40 to 75% of your top line. Even in my old research, I thought it was 50%, but then after digging some more into what like gyms like Equinox, they charge the client $150, the trainer gets $40. So they're taking a good chunk, but the trainers stay, because it's $40 is better than $0, right? So what we're doing is we're able to offer the trainers $55 and take 30%, right? We take, we charge $85, we get $55, we get the rest. And it's still better. It's $15 more than what they're getting.
Yeah, it's great.
To do the same job.
So what's the future of the app look like over the next 6 months, the year? What are you guys planning from a feature set or changing in services? What do you see happening with it?
So number one, we grow the full service feature with salespeople. So we can allow the trainers to make money so that they can survive, because they have bills and families too. Two, we want to build out reviews, so that way clients can now see reviews on these trainers, how much money the trainers earned on this app, how often do they show up on time to their clients. Like a lot of things you don't see when you're looking for a trainer. Even now, you don't know if they're on time, if they're good. You just see them because they're next to the first person at the gym, right? Now you can do that with data, right? So we want to do that in the next year. A year later, we want to be able to offer trainers financial services because trainers are some of the healthiest people in the world. They don't have health insurance. People don't know that, but they don't have health insurance. And so they need to have health insurance. And so with data, we have all this data on them. We can offer them health insurance as well as other financial services like loans. Trainers don't, a lot of them don't have credit cards or car loans because they can't get it because their job is, if it's hacked together with Venmo and all these different things, how do you prove how much money you've earned? But with our app, you have that data. We know how much money you've earned, and you can be offered, things like credit cards and things like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And loans.
What'd you say?
And loans, credit cards and loans, things trainers just don't get to have that they deserve.
Yeah, I think that's great that you're thinking about that side, the health insurance, the financial. It's, again, kind of that, business fitness for these folks that maybe don't take care of themselves. I love how that fits together. What about over the next year from a growth standpoint? How do you see yourselves, I guess, marketing and handling sales, whether you're able to raise some money or not? Like, what's the way that you see growing your customer base?
Salespeople. So it's like one of those things is if I get the funding, I can grow it a lot quicker. If I can't, then I just have to put salespeople in a race against each other to see who can do what and get paid out like that. You got to get creative, right? So it's like, hey, here's 10 of you who can make the most money. You get the job, and then you grow people underneath you, and you just grow from there. Because these salespeople were also furloughed, or they're not getting sales bonuses anymore, or they lost their jobs as well. I think people are not paying attention to how dislocated this market is, right? It's like, it's not just these traders, it's these people who worked at these gyms, and it won't come back the same. Over 50% are closed permanently. That would mean even in 3 years, they're not going to come, they're not just going to come back that quickly. It's going to take time. And then trainers and salespeople and clients who all moved away, they're not just going to be like, okay, I'll go back to Manhattan tomorrow just because gyms are open. No one's going to do that. A lot of these clients are happy where they are. It's convenient to do the virtual training. We have families on the app, not just mine, where it's like the mom, the dad, and the kids, and they enjoy it. It's nice. They get to go to their garage to work out instead of, Equinox, you could not have your kids working out there, but our app, you can. It's also making personal training more accessible for people who couldn't necessarily afford it. So if you were, diagnosed with any illness and you need to have training, you wouldn't necessarily go to a gym, but now you can go find a trainer on the Bright app because instead of paying $150 an hour, you pay $85, and you don't have to pay the membership fees. So another thing is clients don't want to go back to having to pay gym membership fees and for a trainer if they don't have to.
Have you guys focused regionally, or have you taken a strategy of narrowing on certain markets, or do you tend to be open across the country or even further?
So we are focused on America. However, we do have trainers who are all over the world. We did make it available. So we have trainers in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, only one in Germany. So it's like, we don't focus worldwide, but because this is a worldwide issue, those trainers too want business. So it's like, if they want to be on there, we decided, sure, we'll go ahead and make it available. The best part about that is now clients can find trainers anywhere. So you can find one of the best Pilates instructors in Germany because you now work from home. So you don't have to go into the office. You're more flexible on your time, and you're able to commit more. So that's one thing we're finding is clients are able to commit more because they're not going into the office.
So how does, obviously you said that, you guys were about 6 months in when the pandemic hit. How did that change the roadmap for the future here and now with the virtual, audience, right? That's so massive because so many people are now using things to, remote gym memberships and things like that.
Yeah.
Online. How does that look now? Like, how has the roadmap changed?
It just made things happen faster. Like we wanted the marketplace, but maybe in a year down the line. Then we did it sooner. The full service feature was also something later. Now it's happening faster. So just everything we already had in the roadmap is just happening much faster.
That's interesting. Yeah. you guys were poised in a great spot given all that went down. So.
Yeah, because we had the hard part done already, and that was the scheduling and billing. That is the thing that keeps the trainer on there, because now they no longer have to spend 4 to 6 hours of unpaid admin work, which they don't get, they don't get paid for that. So here it is, they don't no longer have to do that. So once that was taken care of, the rest is just come on in and try it, right?
Shifting gears a little bit. Go ahead, Andy.
I'm kind of curious, what influences and inspires you? Are there certain people or companies that you look to, whether for inspiration of how they're running their business or growing, or influence on, ideas and where industries are going?
Um.
And you can't say Elon Musk.
Oh,
he's off. He's off. Yeah, we're gonna take him out.
I think right now who I look to is Brian Chesky of Airbnb, and the reason is I know how hard it was for him to raise, and he had to give birth to an idea that was absolutely insane. Why would you let a stranger in your house? However, during the recession, people needed to keep their mortgage and they needed to survive. And so he made a platform that turned people into small businesses before they knew they were a small business. So at first it was like, I just want to keep my house. So I just want to rent out my room to make some extra cash. Now those early hosts have super hosts. They have multiple homes. I know people who have been having homes for almost a decade now, and they love it. And so this is their lives. These moms now can work from home. They don't have to have an office job anymore. But he enabled small businesses, no matter what you think, right? Because the laws came, because we have an Airbnb, and the laws came in, and you have to pay hotel tax, and you operate like a small business. And so, but he did it with such ease that you didn't realize you were a small business. And so with that's why we made our app so easy to use with that same idea in mind, that you don't even know that you're a small business, but you're doing so well that you have nowhere else to go but grow up, right?
I love that. That was such a great example.
Yeah.
So Nerissa, I'd like to hear, where do you go to, who do you reach out to bounce ideas off of? I'm sure you and your husband, do a lot of that, but when you need an outside perspective, you have a group of people that you engage with, whether it's like a mastermind type thing or some mentors you've had along the way.
I don't have any mentors just yet. I am still looking for that. Sorry, my phone is making so much noise. My husband has more mentors than I do, so he is able to bounce ideas off of engineers that he's worked with in the past, as far as the tech goes. Business side, it's me and the trainers right now. It's it's us, who've been at the bottom, who understands, who are the most neglected by tech. It's that's who we're bouncing ideas off right now.
Do you have some go-to people that are probably friends as well that are living that life, and you kind of get their perspective?
Yeah. And on the app, they're on the app.
Yeah.
So it's just what can we do to make this better? What can we do to get to from here to here? And that's the reason why we grow. Because if you again, back to Airbnb, one of the things he did was take pictures of the host homes because they didn't know how to do it, to post, right? When you're invested in your users that much this early on, you keep them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you grow. You will grow.
So there's a question I've been asking all the founders, and what it is really, if you could go back in time and have coffee with yourself before you started this app, started this business, what advice would you give yourself about the experience and about the future?
When I had clients who were VCs, I should have been their best friend. That's what I should have did. I had no idea that the smoozing of VCs was such a job.
So kind of build your network bigger before you started the business.
Yes, and I would recommend that to any entrepreneur who hasn't started yet, is start with the money. Go find VCs, make friends with them, talk about your idea, and then share your progress as you grow.
Well, it's funny. I started my business at the age of 22, right out of college, and people would ask me, what would you have done differently? And I actually do always say, in college, I wish I had the wherewithal to build my network bigger, so that when I started the business, I knew more people, I had more connections. But the reality was, I think as a college student, you don't think about that, going to networking events. And so I'm always impressed when I see students that want to be entrepreneurs out at networking events in college, because I'm like, you are way ahead of the game. So,
that's another reason why it becomes a boys' club, because a lot of those people, to be fair, they were told to do that early on. So, that's why they, a lot of MBAs are the ones getting all the funding. They were taught to do that. And so a lot of us weren't. And so we're starting way in the back, right? So how do we, especially for minorities and women of color, is like, we don't even know that.
Yeah.
So, like we're coming from, way in the back to try to get into the front of people. And it's difficult if you don't have that network.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to go backwards in time and
that's right.
Change what was done. The best you can do is push the information forward for those in the future to know, this is how you have to start.
Network. Go after the money. Anyone who wants to be a VC, is a VC, was a VC, they should be your friends.
Yeah. So if you have any inkling at all of starting a business, now is the time to start meeting people, right?
That's correct. The people with the money first.
Yeah.
You always find talent later, but people with money is much more difficult than the talent.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, this was fantastic. What are the best ways that, folks can find you and reach out to you? Obviously, get in on the app, but, how do people connect with you?
Nerissa at getbright.app. I do not have a personal Twitter account. Twitter is dangerous. So is Facebook. So I'm off of those platforms. But our business is. So you can find us at Bright App on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our website at www.getbright.app.
Very cool. Thank you, Nerissa, for spending this time with us. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck. And everyone, thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.